Hello, fellow travelers. I wanted to talk to you today and give you a brief introduction, something to think about as you read Shakespeare's Hamlet. But I wanted to connect it to another poem that is equally as famous as Shakespeare's Hamlet, and that is Homer's Odyssey. For those of you who had public education in the United States, I have little doubt that you were introduced to the Odyssey, probably in the eighth grade, maybe a little bit later. But even if you weren't, you're probably familiar with the contours of that famous story. In it, of course, Odysseus is waylaid by the gods, being punished for his lack of piety in the trick of the Trojan horse, which allows the Achaeans to get into the Trojan city and to burn it down. And he cannot get home for 10 years after the war. So he's been gone literally 20 years. But the poem also relates to us the story of his son, Telemachus, who was an infant when his father sailed to Troy, and has literally grown up without a father, which is a situation that too many of us are familiar with. Telemachus is not given any respect in his own city because the rest of the Trojans assume that Odysseus is dead, and the house has been taken over by suitors who want to marry his mother, one of the strongest female characters in ancient literature, Penelope. And if anybody could match wits with Odysseus, it is Penelope. And she cleverly holds the suitors at bay as they demand that she declare her husband dead and choose a new husband who then would become king of Ithaca. Telemachus is trying to keep order in his household, but nobody will listen to him. Athena takes up his cause, tells him to get some faithful men and sail to get news of his father. She, of course, knows that Odysseus is alive, and so he does this. And then famously, Odysseus returns to Ithaca, disguised as a beggar, is recognized by Clytemnestra. She is sworn to not Clytemnestra, I'm sorry, Eurycleia. She's sworn to secrecy. He takes Telemachus into his confidence, and one other faithful servant. He strings the bow, he slaughters the suitors, he's reunited with his wife, and they all live happily ever after, as it were. What connection could there be to Shakespeare's Hamlet? Well, it occurred to me some years ago that Hamlet in many ways is Shakespeare's Telemachus, with a difference. In Hamlet's case, he is at school at Wittenberg, and to me it's very significant that he's at school at Wittenberg because Wittenberg was a hotbed of political intrigue at the time of Shakespeare's life. It's where Luther nailed the proclamations on the cathedral doors and started the Protestant Reformation. And so Hamlet, a young man, about the age of Telemachus when we meet Telemachus in the Odyssey, gets news of his father's death, and by the time he gets home, he discovers that his mother has already remarried to Claudius, his father, the elder Hamlet's brother. And so what you have with the story of Hamlet is what would have happened to Telemachus if Penelope had not been able to hold the suitors at bay, if Odysseus had never come home, if Ithaca had been without a king, and she had chosen one of the suitors as her husband, who then became king. Telemachus, I think, would have felt much as Hamlet does in Shakespeare's play. So maybe that's one way to frame the state of mind that Hamlet has. He is bitterly disappointed in his mother. He has suspicions that she might have participated in the death of his father, although this is never confirmed in the play. We come to find out that Claudius did indeed kill his brother because he confesses it to us in one scene. But otherwise, Hamlet is like a fatherless Telemachus trying to reassert his place in society in a Denmark that is famously quite rotten. Enjoy the play, and I'll be posting another lecture soon.